Dude, you have the best hat on ever. Look at you.
Yes. Thank you.
Simple company in the land.
Yes, absolutely. I was like, oh, another percussionist. I got to wear my Zildjian hat.
Oh, that's awesome, man. How
Super
long you been
excited.
playing drums?
So I started percussion like 6 years ago, and then I did drum set specifically probably about 2 years ago. But I stopped about a year ago once COVID happened because I don't have my own kit, so I've just been practicing kind of at home. But so I've been doing drums specifically for about a year.
That's so
How
cool.
how about you?
I've been playing for 22 years.
22 years. Wow, that's as long as I've been alive.
Yeah, long time, man.
Wow,
Yeah,
awesome.
it's a big part of my life. So,
Yeah, definitely. So before we get started, just if you could go ahead and introduce yourself and just however you want to go ahead and do it.
yeah, so I'm Clint Pulver and a professional drummer, musician, speaker, author, and loving husband and father.
Awesome. So how did you get into doing drums? I know on your site you have like a quote that talks about how um, what was it? You believe that one moment really changes a person's life, and I saw a
Yep.
glimpse into your story. I was hoping you could share that just from your perspective of how you really got into playing drum set and how that changed your life.
Yeah, so I was a kid that growing up I always had a hard time sitting still.
Hmm.
I couldn't focus, and I would tap a lot,
Yeah.
and everybody saw it as a problem. Everybody saw it as a limitation. And I had one teacher in my life, and his name was Mr. Jensen, and he told me to stay after class. And I thought I was in a lot of trouble, but he looked at me and he said, "Listen, I don't think you're a problem. I just think you're a drummer." And he created a moment in my life that changed my story forever. And he reached back in his drawer of his desk, and he opened up the top shelf, and he reached inside and he took out my very first pair of drumsticks, my very first pair. And he made me promise that I would try to keep those drumsticks in my hands as much as I could. And that was 22 years ago. And I have tried my best to keep my promise to Mr. Jensen. And for 22 years, I've had the opportunity to tour and record all over the world as a professional drummer. I've been on America's Got Talent. I played drums with Carrie Underwood, Tim McGraw. Um, I remember I went to college and I had no idea what I was going to study, what I was going to do with my life. And I graduated in 2012 with a bachelor's degree and zero college debt, zero. And that was all from
Awesome.
music scholarships. And I don't tell that story to go, wow, what a list of accolades, Clint. No, I
Hmm.
tell that story because of one person who created a moment that represented possibility, that represented my potential as a
Hmm.
human. And
Yeah,
in doing so,
definitely.
I was able to live a better story.
Yeah. Man, definitely. I love that whole idea of like how you said it best, opportunity. Like you took this, what people would say issue or whatever, and just here's an opportunity of making something better, you know? So I thought that's really cool. Um, and I saw on your site, you went to UVU.
Yeah, I did.
That's awesome. Yeah. And is it you started the, what is it, the Green Man group, or is it you were part of it?
I started it.
Okay, you started. Okay, that's cool. See, because I have a buddy that went like 2 years ago, and so that's when I first heard about. Oh, UVO, that sounds cool. And then I was like, wait a minute, this guy started Green Man Group. I was like, that's so cool. So that's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
cool. Yeah,
It
yeah,
started with
definitely.
just a little idea. I was sitting in like an English class, a writing class in college, and I was
Hmm.
bored out of my mind. And I remember I just started drawing these characters. And because we had an issue in the school that people weren't really coming to the games. And I was on student council, and I thought, why don't we do a drum line? Like
Hmm.
drum lines they're fun, they're exciting, it creates a lot of hype. And some people didn't like the idea, and I started drawing these little characters. I'm like, what if they had no faces? What if nobody knew who they were, but they
Yeah,
could just you put drumsticks in their hands and they just shred? Like,
yeah,
what if we could do that? And I took the idea to the president of the university at the time, and he loved it. And he said, let's do it. And the school fully funded it. And the group started out with me and my two roommates. And
nice.
they were the first members of the Green Man group. And now it's one of the most famous college collegiate drum lines in the
Hmm.
world. Yeah,
Yeah,
and they
definitely.
rock. It's really fun.
Yeah, yeah. I've caught a couple of videos, and because he would show me, like, oh man, that's so cool. Um, what I want to ask, oh, how long were you in university before you were like, you know what, we should make a group, you know, that hypes all these games and shows and that just shreds on the drums?
Yeah, so I was in school, I think, for a year,
Okay.
and so it was my second year that we started the Green Man group. So I would have been a sophomore, and
Hmm.
then I started the group. Excuse me.
Bless you.
I started the group, and then the next year was junior year, and then senior year, and I coached it through that, and then I graduated, and I kept coaching it, and I think I coached the group
Okay.
for 7 years, and
Okay.
then yeah, I was too busy in my professional career and all the other things, and eventually handed the reins over to the assistant director, and he
Nice.
now currently directs the group.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you did it throughout while you were doing university and finishing
Yeah,
your university.
yeah,
Wow. So how did that, I guess, like just time management, how did you, I guess, learn throughout that on better developing, I guess, your time management skills? Because like I know for me, just I'm trying to finish university, trying to also work full time, trying to create all these different things. Like what I
yeah,
guess
yeah.
just has helped you, and maybe you can help someone else that's perhaps entering university.
Yeah, something I've learned, like, in the world of entrepreneurship, is that most
Hmm.
entrepreneurs know what they need to do. Like, like, okay, if you want to, like, get a product out there, you've got to have some good branding. You
Hmm.
could get a website. You could start a podcast. You could start doing some social media ads. Like, that. Like, most people know what they need to do. But the great entrepreneurs, they know what they need to stop doing.
Gotcha.
Most good entrepreneurs, they know what they need to do. The great ones know what they need to stop doing. And so I
Mm.
call it, the power of creating some boundaries. Like, what are the things you're going to stop doing? Like, instead of waking up in the morning and grabbing your phone and scrolling endlessly on Instagram and seeing what's going on and looking at your emails and looking at the to-do list, what are the boundaries? Like, I'm not picking up my phone until 9 o'clock. I'm waking up at 7, but I'm not grabbing my phone until 9 because I've got crap to do. Whether that's your
Mhm.
workout, right? I'm going to work
Yeah.
out. I'm gonna spend time with my family.
Hmm.
That's my time to meditate. That's my time to go down and make a really nice breakfast in the morning so that I have some fuel for the rest of my day.
Yep.
But instead, most of us, what we do is we grab up and we grab the phone and we let the phone dictate our lives. We let the
Yeah.
to-dos and we play defense constantly instead of making an offensive plan that allows us to score.
Hmm. And I like that boundaries because I always try to think of like prioritization, like what is it you really want to do, and but I like that boundaries of
Yeah. What
just
what are the
and
things you really need to stop that
hmm,
in
yeah.
order to allow you to do more? Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I think that's cool too, because so many people are so convinced that, oh, they have to keep going because they put so much time into this one thing. And it's like, no, but you clearly perhaps enjoy the other thing a lot more, or maybe you're getting much more momentum and you enjoy both equally. Like, like I think that there's power in being able to change your mind, sort of thing.
Totally. Totally.
That's awesome. Um, Let me see. So, oh yeah. So we're both percussionists, and I would say, well, you've done a lot of business and entrepreneurship, and so I was curious. Would you say uh, there were lessons you learned in percussion that directly translated to the world of business and entrepreneurship? And if so, I guess what lessons would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean,
Right.
for example, like in a drum line, for instance,
Hmm.
everybody in the drum line has a part to play. You have
Yeah.
the snare drummers, you have the bass drummers, you have the tenor drummers, you have the cymbal players. They all have their own instrument, and every instrument makes a different sound.
Yeah.
However, when they come together as a cohesive whole, it creates
So,
music. It
yeah.
creates rhythm. In the drumline world, we call it cleanliness. When you have a drum line that just plays so clean, and that's when every drummer is hitting the drum at the same height, at the same speed, with the same part of the stick, and it's just gorgeous. Like,
Sounds like one person.
yeah, it's
Yeah. That's awesome.
unbelievable. But you have
Yeah.
17 different drummers that
Hmm.
are doing that. And when that is achieved, man, it's very, very, very inspiring. Same thing in an organization. Everybody has different parts to play. Some are in HR, some are managers, some are the front line employees. But together as a cohesive whole, and we can come together and we can create music. When everybody's being seen, everybody's heard, everybody has an attitude of contribution. Everybody is
Yeah.
keeping it simple, right? We're focusing on the main thing. I'm not listening to the tenor drummers when I need to be listening to the snare line. right? Because that's my team, that's my group. What outside forces are we listening to that can contribute in a toxic way? If I'm listening to the off rhythms of the bass drum, I
Yeah.
cannot stay on time as a snare drummer. And so
Mhm.
those intricacies of how a team can work in business absolutely translate to how a drum line would work in music, or an orchestra, or
Yeah.
any type of high performance jets, right? The F-16s, the Thunderbirds, or the Blue Angels.
Yeah.
It's all the same stuff. What we're trying to do is do something together and do it as well as we can.
Yeah, definitely. Hmm. Yeah, and I mean, so a little about me, I guess. So I'm finishing up my last year in computer science over at UNLV, but I
Uh-huh.
did my first 2 years in percussion. Well, I was doing percussion and computer science, but I had one of the professors come out and visit from Australia, James Bailey, and found out he had a degree in physics. Yeah, all like the entire semester, I was learning so much about percussion and about like just being a person. Um, and I was shocked to find out he even though he played a percussion all throughout his childhood growing up and he just learned from these people, he has his degree in physics. So I realized, oh man, like you can really just learn about music by just doing it without having to really get a degree. So it helped me kind of relieve the pressure of I don't have to get 2 degrees. I can just
Yeah.
yeah, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um, but then throughout my 2 years, like I always noticed, like I think I learned so much more during those 2 years of within percussion about business. My first semester, I tried to do business, but I got really bored because I just personally I found it very easy. So if I find something easy, it's not challenging, I'm not engaged in it. So I can't
Yeah.
stick with it. It has to
So
be hard, and like I have to be able to think, problem solve, sort of thing. I love like for me, the classes that I've done best in are the classes most of the people within the computer science department struggling because it's
yeah.
fun,
Yeah.
But within those 2 years, I found like so many. I learned so many connections with like, okay, always show up 15 minutes early to things. Even with percussion setup, like you always want to make sure your equipment's ready, not just you
Yes.
15, 20 minutes before. If
Yes.
you're done, make sure
Yeah.
to take some time to help the team, as you said,
Mhm.
teamwork. Right,
Mhm.
take some
Mhm.
time to, hey, you set up? Oh, let me help you, man. Come on, and we'll go to your car and break things or help break things down afterwards. Right, make
Yeah.
sure your whole team's helped finish once you're done with the performance sort of thing, instead of just being like, all right, cool guys, I'll see you later. I'm gonna grab food. Like help your
Mhm.
team,
Never
things
forget
like
the
that.
drummer. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, so I always find it interesting that, especially now I've taken this time away from percussion to look at it like, wow, I really did learn so much from percussion about business and just life. Um, and I just think it's cool to try and like be able to talk to someone who's been able to do both as well. Because a lot of my friends, they're just not finishing up their percussion degrees, so but they haven't been able to do like outside things in business just yet. But I think that's cool, and also networking too. I realize is a big thing, especially as a musician, right? You have to be able to learn and build that skill of networking with others. And so that, I mean, before that, I would always be afraid to even try to talk to people. I mean, I don't think I would even be doing interviews like this if it weren't for going outside my sort of comfort zone.
Yeah.
Um, but
Totally.
yeah, I think it's
Totally.
really cool, really interesting.
Well, even
Like
think
music.
about like a drum. Like a drum is a living, breathing instrument. I think that's what I really enjoy about it is you have to tune that instrument constantly, constantly. Like I'll sit and play a drum set, and we'll be rocking out. I'll do a show,
Mhm.
and if I go and sit back on the kit, like it's changed. The heads have
Yeah,
died. They've loosened.
yeah,
They've stretched a little bit. I mean,
mhm,
you beat on something time and time and time again,
yeah,
and I think there's a valuable leadership principle. If you've got a team, are you the guy that's constantly hammering ideas? You're constantly hammering expectations. You're constantly driving numbers. But too many managers are sitting there and they're beating the drum, and they don't take the time to tune it. They don't take the time to connect.
mm,
They don't take the time to make sure that everybody is playing to their
yeah,
best ability so you can create good sound. They just sit there and keep hitting. And that never
yeah,
creates beautiful music. Then you have a dead head. You have dead employees. You have a dead
yeah.
organization. You have to always be tuning the instrument.
Tuning all the little lugs.
Yep, you got it.
Wow, yeah, wow, awesome. Um, well, so let's go ahead and I guess get into talk about your book a little bit. So, book's called "I Love It Here: How Great Leaders Create Organizations That People Never Want to Leave."
Yeah,
I know this started off with what you call the Undercover Millennial, I believe. I believe
yeah.
it
The
started with
Undercover
that.
Millennial program. Yeah,
So could you go ahead and I guess just discuss a little bit about what the Undercover Millennial is and just the process of that and how that led to pretty much your creation of the book?
Yeah, so I am the Undercover Millennial. It's kind of like the Undercover Boss, the TV show, without the
Hmm.
makeup.
Yeah.
I would go undercover as a millennial into a job as someone who was looking for employment.
Hmm.
So, say like a Chick-fil-A or a Verizon store or a furniture store or a medical clinic. I would go in just like this. I'd have a backwards hat on, regular t-shirt, and I would walk up to the first person that I saw and I would just say, "Hey, I'm looking for work. I'm thinking about applying. Um, I wanted to see what you thought. Would you recommend it?"
Hmm.
And then the employees look around and they always tell me everything, because I'm not a boss, right? I'm not a part of
Right.
the company. I'm not a survey. I'm just another millennial that is genuinely trying to get some insight into what it's like to work there. And I've done that for 5 years now. And over the course of those 5 years, I have worked with 181 organizations and I have interviewed over 10,000 employees undercover.
Hmm.
And through that process, we've been able to gain the most real and authentic data behind how great leaders were creating organizations that people never wanted to leave.
Hmm.
It was nice because I was able to write a book that was about leadership, but it's not a leadership book that's written by, a self-proclaimed leadership expert.
Hmm.
This is a book that's written by 10,000 employees who knew when their leaders were getting it right.
Hmm.
That's what this book is about. And so it's a really unique perspective that nobody else has really taken the time to write about or has taken the time to create. It's all these books about leadership and what leadership feels like to you. And I wanted to create a book that talked about what good leadership looked and felt like to an employee.
So with your book, is it like a bunch of just different stories that you picked out from the that experience of going doing Undercover Millennial?
A little bit, what would happen is when I would do the research and I would walk up to an employee and I would say, "Hey, what's it like to work here?"
Hmm.
And when an employee would respond with, "I love it here. Oh my gosh, I love my job. I love what I'm doing. I love my manager. Like, you
Hmm.
should apply here." And then when I would go to the next employee in that business, and then the next employee and the next,
Hmm.
and there was a consistent trend of "I love it here," everybody's saying like, "I love my job." And then what we did is we said, okay, something very significant is happening in this organization. And then we would find out what the leaders were doing to create that type of response. That is what the book is about. It is actionable and a prescriptive narrative that they can look into the eyes and the ears and the thoughts of what great leaders were doing to create loyalty that lasted. That's what it's about. How do we
Interesting.
repeat what great leaders were doing through the eyes of their employees so that we can do the same for our teams?
So to create that sort of positive, because as soon as you say, "Oh, I love it here," like we all get excited. "Oh, that's cool. That's awesome." Um, so in order to create that like positive culture within a workplace, you think it's solely based on the leadership, or is there some sort of, I guess, accountability on the employees as well?
Yeah, both. There's always
Both? Yeah.
accountability
Okay.
for
Yeah.
both. However, though,
Okay.
leadership is number one because
Okay.
leadership, the leader, right?
Yeah.
It's
Hmm.
like saying like, okay, yeah, you're the parent, but there's some accountability on the child. Yes, but you are still the parent.
Yeah. Okay.
So leadership is the number one reason why people stayed in an organization, and it's also the number one reason why people left an organization. Right? You have a great manager, you have a
Yeah.
horrible manager. And so leadership really matters because here's the thing, as a leader, you cannot control somebody.
Okay.
You can't. You cannot control people, but you can control how you behave. You can control how you connect. You can control how you lead and influence. So that's why leadership is such a critical factor because you are the individual, you are the
Yeah.
person that is leading the organization. So as we focus on leadership and how you choose to live, it will help us to influence our people better.
Yeah. I definitely I've always loved that concept. I remember when I first learned it, like the manager or the leader is who serves the employees, not the employees serving the leaders, sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Too many
So yeah.
leaders, think of this. How stupid would it be if you stood in front of a fireplace
Mhm.
and you said, "Give me heat,
Yeah.
then I'll give you wood." Right? Stupid. So
Yeah.
dumb. It doesn't work that way.
Mhm.
You got to give the wood. You got to put the fuel. You got to light the spark. Then it'll give you some heat.
Yeah.
And
And it serves you.
too many leaders are sitting in front of a fireplace and they're saying, "Give me production, give me engagement, give me numbers," and they have done nothing to spark the possibilities of that.
Hmm. Nice. Um, so now I'm curious with if someone going from transitioning from going into more of the workforce, I guess perhaps let's say corporate world, and they're entering like a more toxic environment, but we can see that the leadership, management is trying to improve the overall environment, but this new person entering is also positive, but entering this toxic environment. What's something I guess you would advise on that person that's not in the leadership position can try to do to help with that sort of negative bad environment?
Yeah, choose who you listen to and be very careful with who you're listening to. So, for example, if you put a hard to catch horse in a field with an easy to catch horse, usually
Hmm.
end up with two hard to catch horses,
Oh, really?
right? You put a sick child in the room with a healthy child,
Okay,
usually end up with two sick kids, right?
that's true.
So here's the thing. So when you come into an organization and you're surrounded by people that are constantly calloused, people that are toxic, you
Yep.
have to separate yourself. And I've seen it. Like a brand new teacher comes into a district and they're excited. They just finished
Yeah.
their student
Yeah.
teaching and they're pumped. And then they
Hmm.
walk into the faculty room and the first teacher says, "Oh my gosh, why are you here? Oh, you chose to be a teacher." Instantly, you have to separate yourself from those people. Because again, a hard to catch horse will always make two hard to catch, it'll make two hard to catch horses. And I've seen it where lively, excited young employees surround themselves with toxic people and they become toxic. Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn said you become the average of the five people that you associate with most. It's very
Hmm.
true. Uh,
Yeah.
your friends, right? I always tell young people, show me who your friends are right now.
And that's your future. Yeah.
And that's probably a good indication of what your future is going to look like. So it's
Hmm.
the same thing. And here's the opportunity. You have the chance in an organization to find the good, to find the people that are living and breathing and doing the job that you want to do. Associate with them, connect with them, invite those people to lunch, spend more time with them, learn from them, right? It's the beauty of mentorship in the workplace, not just management. It's the beauty of hanging out by the mat. I was a wrestler growing up, and my dad said, "Clint, if you want to be a great wrestler, you've got to hang out by the mat. If you want to be a good drummer, hang out where the drummers hang. If you want to be good at basketball, hang out by the hoop." Same thing.
Yeah.
And we should do whatever it takes to associate with astonishing people.
Interesting. Yeah, and definitely like even if like something I've tried because I've tried to think about what if you're in an environment where okay, as we said, everyone's toxic, but I think nowadays even just with social media, you can try and maybe find a video or something of someone giving like a great speech, talk, something, and you're learning from those great people as well. And I think that would be a cool way to surround yourself with good people as well, instead of just having to be like directly here. If you can figure out how to like not absorb that sort of negativity in the environment, right? Um, but yeah.
And
Uh,
again, that's where it comes down to boundaries, right? You
okay.
have to start saying no to a few things.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause see, I was gonna ask, like, I guess what would you say helps with like not absorbing that, negativity, but yeah, boundaries.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
it's all about boundaries. Make the to don't list, and then again, it's being self aware and making the choice. Nobody can control you but you, and so
Mm.
you educate yourself. It's like, well, how do I lose 10 pounds? Well, there's certain principles that are going to help you
Yeah.
do that, and until you do that, you're not going to lose 10 pounds.
Yeah.
It's just a
Makes sense.
universal truth. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, it doesn't work that way. There's principles that you have to take action towards. God can't steer a parked car. You got to move. You got to
Yeah.
move for something to happen.
Yep. Very true. I'm curious, are you big about like affirmations and things like that? Or do you have perhaps like maybe like a list of principles that you try to live by, I guess, or
Yeah, I have a mantra. I have a mantra
Okay.
for my life.
Yeah.
So, for example, it's not, and that mantra is, it's not about being the best in the world. It's about being the best for the world. So my mantra is really about, Clint, don't live a life of success. Live a life of significance.
Yeah.
That to me has been a life-changing mantra. Nobody
Hmm.
gives a rip about, how much money you have.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about how, fancy your house is. Or if you
Yeah.
think they care, that's just in your head that you think that people actually care about those things. Like, for example, like if I were to ask you, who are the last three NFL MVPs?
Nope. I don't. Mm-mm.
No, nothing. What about who are the last two Academy Award winners for Best Actor?
Nope.
Nothing.
Nothing.
But yet they're like some of the most famous, popular, wealthy, prestigious,
Yeah.
wonderful people in the world, and they have millions of followers. Like you look at their
Mhm.
Instagrams,
Yeah. Yeah.
their TikToks, like
Uh,
killing it. Nobody knows who they are.
yeah.
Nobody. And again, it's not so much about like being known as it is about influence. Because watch this. Could you tell me the name of the teacher who made a difference in your life?
Yeah.
What's what?
So third grade, Miss Shawan.
Boom, right there. You
Yeah.
automatically know who they are.
Yeah.
Why?
She was caring.
Yeah, yeah,
She genuinely cared about people learning and developing themselves and just being a better person. And I always enjoyed, like, she wasn't so big on you have to get good grades. It was more of you have to just learn, and we have to figure out ways for you to be able to learn that thing, even
and
if it's a different way. you know.
yeah, and I guarantee it's because she got to the part about you. She
Yeah,
cared more about you than your grades. She
correct.
cared
Yeah,
more about you living a life of significance, not just a life of success. And so that's my mantra, man. That's what gets remembered. The Mr. Jensens, right? The people that
yeah,
that that
yeah.
had that.
Influence you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
like the amount of influence you have on others. That's significant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not about being the best
yeah,
in the world. It's about being the best for the world.
yeah. The life of service for other people, bringing value to other people in some way.
Purpose,
Yeah,
man. Yeah.
purpose. Yep. Now, that actually reminds me of another one I wanted to ask with service. So, how would you say one could go ahead and, I guess, what advice would you give to someone who wants to seek sort of this wisdom and knowledge and service um, from others or for others, but is perhaps intimidated by sort of the one-on-one interactions of interviews and
Yeah.
the like? But I guess perhaps some advice for someone trying to start off in that.
Yeah. It's the beauty of podcasts. That's the beauty of Instagram.
Yeah,
That's the beauty of Google. You can really
that's
learn a
true.
lot from a lot of different channels. I have a lot of people that are like, "How do you become a professional speaker? How do you do that?" And then they're like, "I don't want to pay for coaching, or I don't, I'm not all about the one-on-one calling people up and saying help me."
Hmm.
There's so many podcasts. There's so
Yeah.
many awesome podcasts that will literally tell you everything you need to do to get started in speaking. If you have one of these, you have a
Yep.
cell phone, and you have access to Wi-Fi, man,
Yep.
game over. Like you can learn anything, anything,
Mhm.
anything.
Yeah. No, that's true. You really can learn. I mean, yeah, anything,
Yeah,
anything
you
you want.
can
Like you just have to come up with
create.
the question.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's true. So I guess what advice would you give yourself from when you started uh, doing public speaking up until now? Like, what's one piece of advice?
Um, I think the thing that has helped me the most as a
Hmm.
professional speaker is the same thing that I said before, is when I step up on stage, I ask myself, or I tell myself, everybody in the audience is asking me as the speaker, let me know when it gets to the part about me. So everybody in the audience wants to know, why is what you say important to me? Why should I care? Why should I care? Because my job as a speaker is to provide value, not for
Hmm.
me, not to scratch my ego, not to build me up or make me feel good. It's not to get the standing ovation for my own self-esteem. My
Hmm.
job as a speaker is to add value. My job as a
Yeah.
speaker is to get to the part about you.
What's helped you build sort of that awareness if it's like, like a big audience? Like how do you I guess find it so
How do I
that
get to the part about people when I don't know who the people are?
yeah, right. Like let's say you and I, for example, like I never heard of you till I saw your Instagram post and I was like, oh cool. And then I tried to learn more about you.
Yeah.
But even then, there's people I know for like my entire life. So how can I try to add value to you and I, right? Like right now, even though we've met for 30 minutes sort of thing, like how can one build that sort of, I don't know, knowledge or
It's all of the things that happen before we get on the podcast. It's all of the things that happen before I get on stage. So if I'm going and speaking for an organization, and
Mhm,
say it's uh, Big O Tires, or it's a hospital chain, or it's a meeting full of event planners, it's my
mhm,
job as the speaker to do my research beforehand. What's the
okay,
podcast about? What's the stage about? What's the audience here for? What is the conference? Is there a theme? Who else do they have that's on the stage? Who have you had on your podcast before? Who's your listener? Right? My job on this podcast is not to talk about my book, even
mhm,
though that's a really cool thing. I would love to talk about the book. My job on this podcast is to make sure I provide value for your listeners. And I know that by looking at your podcast, seeing who have you had on the show? What's the name of the podcast? What's the audience? Who are we trying to retain? What are we trying to do here? And so when I take the stage, I'm always asking that question because again, I have to get to the part about you.
yeah, hmm, brilliant. It's awesome. Wow, it's good. Um, sorry, I'm trying to like absorb all this.
You're good, man. You're good.
um, so I guess I definitely wanted to talk a bit more about your book. So I guess starting off, you spoke on Mr. Jensen, and so I'm kind of curious. So how would you advise someone could try to be like a Mr. Jensen?
Yeah, so Mr. Jensen did two things for me. He
Hmm.
communicated my potential and he communicated my worth. Worth and potential. So everybody needs to be told what they could become in life. He told me, look, you could be a drummer. Like, seriously, he gave me an identity. He's like, you take these sticks, you keep them in your hands, you could be a drummer, and drummers are cool. Like it was something to believe in.
Hmm.
Everybody needs something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Like what are you looking forward to right now? You're looking forward to finishing school and going out and doing something significant in the world. You already started a podcast, so I know you care
Yeah.
about adding value. You care about meeting great people. You want to do something great. Everybody needs something to hope for.
Yeah. That's
So
true.
create potential in people's lives. Do they like themselves best because they're with you?
Yeah.
To ask you, is your relationship with your spouse or your partner, are they better when you're around or are they better when you're gone?
Yeah.
How do people, this is a really important question. How do people experience you? And how do they experience themselves when they're with you? Are you the person that constantly sees the problems? You're constantly talking about all the issues. Or are you the person that's talking about the possibilities? When you look at a person, you go, okay, maybe there's a few issues. Maybe there's a few things that aren't perfect, but I see the good. I see what you
Hmm.
can become.
Yeah.
Get to the part about them, but also show them that there's possibility. And then the second thing is worth. Recognize people, compliment people. When you see somebody, I mean, I saw you and I was like, oh my gosh, Zildjian Hat, my man. Like we're speaking the same language. Like I focus on that. We compliment. Oh my gosh, you're a drummer. There's an immediate connection. Make sure that you again, it's about how do people experience you? Communicate the worth. In the business world, we talked about recognition a lot. Employees love to be recognized. Everybody wants to be seen, they want to be heard, and they want to be understood. Everybody does. I don't care if it's a debate, if it's a conflict, if it's a really dark or tough situation, or it's a light-hearted conversation with a bunch of homies in the hall. Everybody wants to be seen. They want to be heard. They want to feel worth it.
Hmm.
I always tell everybody as well, whoever you are with, And whatever you are doing, give them the gift of your attention. You want to make sure somebody feels like they're worth it? Give them your attention always. And so many times, dude, we're sitting here and it's like,
Yeah, it's like I'm on my phone,
yeah,
like right now. It's
yeah,
like
it's like, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. So what did you say? Yeah, yeah. Mom,
uh
I'll be there in a
uh
minute. Yeah, right.
yep.
Or like, what do we do when we wake up in the morning? What do you do? You wake up. Everybody, we grab our phone. Grab our phone. First thing you do is you look at your phone and you go, oh my gosh, Kay, what did I miss last night? What are my emails? What's happening on Snapchat? Or do you again start saying no to a few things, and you don't grab that and you turn over to the person next to you and you kiss them and you tell them how much you love them.
Hmm.
What do we do?
Huh.
Because here's the thing. Uh, I've been married for a little while now, uh, and I will say this: marriage is grand, but divorce is about 100 grand.
Ah.
And like any organization with employees, that's a really cool thing. That's really grand. That's really awesome, and you can grow and you can scale. But when an employee leaves your organization, or even worse, an employee stays in your organization and they mentally quit, that is costing you thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
Whoever you are with and whatever you are doing, give them the gift of your attention.
yeah, definitely. And I think that goes back to also like with percussion. I mean, and I think sports. I've noticed because I have a couple of friends in sports as well. But like, you ever go to like an event and you're always told like, make sure you leave the place looking nicer than when you showed up,
Yeah.
sort of thing. You know, like clean up if there's trash on the floor, things like. And I've kind of made that connection with people, as you said. Like, when you meet someone and you leave, did you make them better, right? Did you, in a sense, clean them, right? Like, did you bring value to their life during that 10-second interaction?
Yeah. Are you a fountain or are you a drain?
Yeah.
Are you a
Hmm.
fountain or a drain? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Um. And so, let me see. Trying to go over my notes. Um. So, I guess pretty much, how are there any other, I guess, big ideas from your book on how great leaders create these organizations for people? I would like to talk a bit more about your book if you're willing to.
This is great. No, this is good. I think what the last point that it's worth making is that great leaders were really good at designing moments in the lives of other people. I found when I would
Mm.
ask an employee, "Why do you like to work here?" No employee said, "Oh my gosh, I work here because my manager just runs the best meetings ever." Nobody said, "Oh, I
Nope.
work here. I work here because we have time management skills that are amazing." Nobody said that. Nobody said that. What they talked about is, yeah, I work here because my manager just cares. Like you wouldn't believe this, man. Like the manager sent flowers to my wife when we had our baby, and it's crazy. Like our manager, the business, the corporation, when we had our first child, they sent us 6 months of diapers. Or I'll never forget. My wife was sick and we were having a hard time, and my boss just looked at me and he said, "You need to go and you need to take the week off, and I'm going to pay you, and I want you to go and I want you to focus on your family." That's what they talked about. They talked about moments that were designed around them, moments that mattered, right? It's the Mr. Jensen story. Get really good at creating moments. Mr. Jensen, that story about my teacher that gave me drumsticks, that didn't just happen. That wasn't just like, oh, I'm going to open up the drawer. Let's see what's inside. Oh my gosh, there's drumsticks. No, he planned it. He designed it. And I think here's the thing with leadership. The coolest part about leadership is that it matters. The hardest part about leadership is that it matters every day. And I think if
Hmm.
more leaders made a conscious choice to create meaningful moments in the lives of their people, retention would increase, productivity would increase, profits would increase, morale would increase, empowerment would increase. All from moments, little teeny, significant, unique moments over a long period of time add up to be a lot. Get really good at creating moments. Same thing with your kids. If you have kids, create moments with your kids. If you have a spouse or a partner, make moments in their
That's
life.
true. Yeah.
Like little things.
Yeah.
Like
Doesn't have to be this big thing. Just
right now, are you married? Do
not
you have,
yet. No.
yeah, okay, all right.
But
So
but I do have a partner. We've been together like 7 years.
all right, cool. So here's the thing. So like whoever that person is in your life, what's their name?
Kelsey.
Okay, so Kelsey, send a text right now. You don't have to do it right now, but send a text today to Kelsey and just say, hey, listen, I'm here, just got done, finished with the podcast, and I'm just thinking about you, and I'm grateful for you.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for what you do. I'm grateful for all the times where you've just been there, and I probably don't say it enough, but I just want you to know that I love you and I'm thinking about you.
Hmm.
Send that sucker off. That's a moment.
That
That
is.
is a moment that is not a routine
Hmm.
thing that you would do in your day. And I'm telling you, if we can do those things more often, if we can do those things consistently, it will matter. It will help write a better story. It will increase connection. It's a little thing, but to your Kelsey's, it matters.
Yeah.
Create
Hmm.
moments.
Wow. And that's definitely something I've tried to think about. Like, because I've told it straight up. Look, there's a lot of different projects I want to do, podcasts, branding, things like that, on top of school, on top of working full time. So I try to tell her like, look, I can't commit. I don't know. I don't know. It's like an average number of like time with your significant other, but I always try my best to, as you said, give little moments of reminders of I love you, things like that. And I love how you tied that with like you can do that with work if you are just consistently and consciously trying to be just kind and caring about your employees every single day.
Yeah.
The opportunities of kindness will show up where it's like, as you said, that moment that can change this person's life will occur. And that's when it's up to the leader to be okay. Am I, kind today? What can I do to help bring value to you, right, to that person?
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting that can
What a
translate
concept, right?
from partners to
It,
corporate world sort of thing.
it's all universal truths, man.
Wow,
It's all universal. It doesn't matter if it's in a relationship or if it's a parenting thing or if it's in a business.
that's
It's a
true.
universal truth
Yeah,
that always is applicable.
yeah.
What a concept.
Even with like moving out. So I moved at a pretty early age, around 16,
Hmm.
and it was a bit of a emotional sort of divergence sort of thing, because my mom would always be like, oh, you don't really reach out, what's going on, this and that. And eventually, as I learned with my partner Kelsey about I should try to make these moments of showing, reminding her that I care, even if again I can't fly out to go see her, sort of thing. I was able to translate that with her as well. Hey, thinking of you, mom. Hope all is well. And
Yeah.
that like I'll never forget like the first time I did it. She was like that made her entire world. I was just like, whoa, wow. And it
100%.
again, it translates to corporate world. That's awesome. Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. And then I mean, pretty much. Let me see what time is it. There are a few more questions. I don't know if you do you read at all?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess what are three books that have had just the deepest impact on you that you've read so far, and then one book that you've been interested in the last month, I guess,
Yeah. So
or recently.
I would recommend the How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale
Hmm.
Carnegie. Classic.
Yep. Yep.
Every person in the world needs to read that book.
Hmm.
The second book I would recommend is called A Million Miles in a Thousand Years by Donald Miller.
Okay.
Unbelievable book. A
I
Million Miles in a Thousand Years.
actually haven't heard that one, so cool. I'm excited.
Yeah, the other book that I would recommend, it's an interesting read, and it's for somebody that if they want to be an entrepreneur, I
Hmm.
believe it's the best entrepreneur book ever written, and it's the biography, the autobiography of P.T. Barnum.
Oh,
P.T.
okay.
Barnum is the guy that like created like Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey
Yes,
Circus.
I loved them growing up. Yeah.
Exactly. An amazing entrepreneur that understood
Yeah.
the power of marketing and to create
Yeah.
brands and advertising and movements and shows that created the curiosity factor. It's an incredible book. And then the book I'm currently reading that I absolutely love is The Perennial Seller by
Perennial
Ryan
seller.
Holiday.
Oh, wait. Okay. I've read Ryan Holiday. I'm reading his Stillness is the Key right now, finishing that
Yeah,
one up.
yeah.
But I haven't heard that one. Okay. What is it again? The Perennial
The perennial seller. It is
Seller.
so good.
Yeah.
It's all about like how do you make something perennial, like a perennial flower. It will bloom every year. You don't have to like
Hmm.
replant it. It just keeps blooming. How do we
Hmm.
create a business that just consistently grows?
Hmm.
Like how do you
Okay. Wow.
create a classic? Like why are like certain bands like Iron Maiden, like they're just classics. Like why what is it about a certain movie that just it's always on TV? Because it's just
Yeah.
awesome.
It's just
So
amazing. Yeah.
how do you create that?
Huh.
It's so good.
Wow.
So
I didn't even know. I mean, that was better. I never heard of that book either, and I thought I was becoming a big fan of Ryan Holiday. But there you go. There's more books to get from him, so that's awesome.
there you go.
Cool. Now I did want to ask, do you have like a morning routine at all?
You
'Cause I
know
know
what?
you mentioned boundaries and things like that, so I'm just curious.
Yeah,
With
I am someone that doesn't really have a morning routine. I know some
okay,
people are all about it, right? And they
mhm,
live that way. And my life as a professional speaker, one day I'm in Chicago, the next day I'm in Australia.
yeah,
Uh, and that's a
makes
very
sense.
real thing for me.
Hmm.
So it's hard to have like a set routine.
Hmm.
Um, now I have boundaries, I have standards,
Okay.
and the things that I always try to do. But sometimes in the morning I have to wake up and I'm on a flight.
Hmm.
Other mornings I don't, and I can go be with my kids. Sometimes I have to
Okay.
jump on a podcast. Like
Yeah.
so for me, um, my life is not now. If you have like a regular 9 to 5 job, or like there's
Yeah.
a little more sense of a routine, then
Hmm.
you can create a morning routine. But for
Yeah.
me, I don't have a life that allows for that just because of the nature of my job.
Fair enough. No, yeah, that makes sense. And especially like life of a musician too, is like you never
Yeah,
know when you're gonna get a gig, and then it's like, cool, now you're there 4 hours longer than you expected. It's like, oh, okay,
yeah,
cool.
yeah. And
Yeah.
there's some people that are like, well, you could wake up earlier and do your morning routine. No,
Yeah.
I'm just being real about it. I don't have one. I don't have one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And especially like I think it's more important to just get your fair amount of sleep. Because I've genuinely tried like for me, time efficiency is like really big thing for me, just because I'm always busy,
yeah,
trying to just do different things. But so I've tried sleeping, okay, 4 hours. Oh man, that's terrible. I would never recommend anyone to do that.
yeah,
Unless it's like in your genetic code of like you could sleep 4 hours somehow, fine.
yeah.
But
Which I've
get
never
your sufficient,
met anybody like that. So
yeah, no, like just sleep however long your body needs to sleep, and I guess set your boundaries and be more
yes,
what is it, intentional with your
yep,
time. I
yep.
found that
Agree.
just helps. Okay. Um, just checking the time again. Okay. Um, what is there like a perhaps like a question or an idea you always try to ask yourself when you first wake up in the day?
There is a question that I try to ask myself at night.
At night? Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
see, Kelsey does that too. She likes to do it at night, but I'm more of a morning person, but
yeah. But
whatever.
I think there's power right in both. But
Yeah,
for me,
yep.
here's the thing: at night, I dictate and plan what I'm doing the next day. So
Yes, I
when I
found
wake
that
up in
helps
the
so
morning,
much.
yeah, when up in the morning, I already know what I need to
Yep.
do. Now I have the mantra, right? The goal is to be the best for the world,
Hmm.
but I already know what I need to do. For me, it's more powerful to reflect after I've done it, right? I call it the debrief, right? It's a debrief. We break down what happened. Um, and for mine, mine's a little bit maybe different than most, but this is just it. And when I lay
Yeah.
down at bed, or when I lay down and I look up at that little red dot in the smoke detector in our room, I just ask myself, am I right with God?
Hmm.
That's what I ask myself. Am I right with God? And because if I'm right with God, then chances are I'm probably right with my relationships. If I'm right with God, chances are I'm running a really good business that's full of integrity.
Yeah.
For me, that's a big part of my life. And
Yeah.
so that is what I ask myself. Am I right with God? And if I'm not, then what do you got to
Yeah.
change? What do you got to
Hmm.
tighten up?
Yeah,
Yep.
reflecting on that. Yeah, definitely. Hmm. Would you say your, I guess, core value would possibly be faith,
Yeah, that's a big part
or
of it.
perhaps just one of them? Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause-
believe in God for sure. Yeah.
But even like outside of God, let's say for people who perhaps aren't religious, do you think it's still important to have faith in something, like
Yeah,
perhaps
to
in
be
what you're
put back.
doing, right? Things
Yeah,
like that. Yeah. Okay.
absolutely. Right.
I thought so
Yeah,
too, but
there's
mm,
importance to believe in something, right? We talk
yeah.
about hope,
Okay.
something to hope for. Faith is believing in things that you can't always see.
Yeah.
It's about dreaming. It's about the possibilities. It's about uh, living living with some optimism and a sense of wonder of what could be. You know,
Yeah. Okay.
a belief in something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was just a thought. Like I had like a week ago. I was sitting at dinner. I was like, I think faith plays a very important part in people's lives. I don't know. I just get into like deep thoughts. I'm like, I think faith
Yeah.
is significant for perhaps if I'm to say even all people to
Yep.
some degree.
Agreed.
Hmm. Okay, cool. Now I'm curious, what's your favorite pair of drumsticks?
So I'm endorsed by Vic Firth. So I
Okay,
have my own sticks through Vic Firth.
okay.
Um, so so yeah, I have my sticks that I play. So
How
Vic
about,
Firth.
can you say outside of your specific signature sticks within Rick
Um,
Firth, of course?
yeah, for me, dude, Vic has the most options. They have all the different sizes, the tips, the lengths, the wood,
Oh yeah,
the
for drum set, I think Vic is like number one.
yeah, and even when I marched, I don't know, it was
Oh, you
still
marched?
yeah, I taught the drumline, the Green Man group
Oh
at
no, okay, yeah. Sorry, yes, yes,
so
yes,
yeah,
yes, yes.
yeah, drumline's been a
Sorry.
big part of my life. Yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, Vic has always been my thing. But here's the thing: there's great sticks. Like Vader makes great sticks. ProMark makes good sticks. They all make really good sticks.
Mhm.
But for me, I've always loved Vic Firth. And then
Yeah.
I'm endorsed by Zildjian, so I play Zildjian cymbals, and then Aquarian drum heads is my other endorsement.
Yeah. I love Zildjian. It's so good. The sound quality is amazing.
Yeah,
So
they're
yeah,
awesome. Yep.
it's amazing. What's your favorite symbol?
I love the A customs for sure. I've got a special dry K custom though that is unbelievable. I play a rock ride, and I love that. I don't know, man. There's so many different symbols for so many different
Yeah, no,
sounds.
I know. It
Love that.
depends, like what
Love the
mood
flavor.
maybe you're in, what you play, yeah, what you're playing,
Yeah,
what you're
yeah,
trying to go for. Yeah. Okay. I'm always just curious, like what are the percussions, like perhaps favorite, I guess maybe setup or symbol, mallet choice.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah. Yep.
Awesome. And then just lastly, well, first I want to say thank you for your time and just being on the show.
You're welcome.
And I'm just curious, like, is there anything I could do right now to perhaps try and bring you value at all, or maybe in the future? I don't know. I mean, I just wanted to offer that.
Dude, I hope you'll keep doing this. I hope you'll keep it up. I hope you'll stay consistent in this, and you'll keep chasing your dreams. Keep doing what you love. Figure out how to provide for yourself and that future family of yours, and then figure out how to be the best for the world. Keep figuring out how to do something bigger than yourself. And pick up a copy of the book, man, and read the book. I'd love to hear your thoughts. That would mean a lot to me, and I think you'll be somebody. In fact, I know that you'll be somebody that will have other people that will be influenced by you. And I would love your thoughts on the book.
Yeah,
When people look at you, do they go, I love it here. I love it here because of you, or I love myself because of you. And
yeah.
the book will help you to do that better. And we need more people like that. So
Awesome.
that would be my ask.
We'll definitely do. Yeah. Clint Pulver, your book. I love it here. How great leaders uh, create organizations. Their people never want to leave. Excited for it to come out. I know it comes out in April. I was checking it out, so I'm excited to go ahead and order it. And
Awesome.
yeah, I'll definitely let you know
Okay.
for sure.
That sounds great.
Cool.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you for being here. Truly appreciate your time, man. You take care. All right.
Yep, you're very welcome.
Bye bye.